Hey guys, we're back. We are back. Today was a really eventful day. Miss Aurea had three
I had 3 calls
three
today.
Zoom calls today.
I did on our little experiment.
Experimental. Tell us more about the experiment.
So the idea of the experiment is to almost, it's like a reverse way of doing a human design reading.
Human design, for layman's terms,
Is your energetic blueprint.
energetic blueprint.
Right. So
Describe that a little bit more for the layman guy.
basically, like you're born with a true divine purpose, right? God gave you a purpose when you came on this planet, and what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to serve? And so a lot of people kind of have a vague idea, but sometimes maybe confusing.
Oh
You
yeah,
have
most people are confused.
a lot of interest, so you're not sure exactly how to use it. So it gives you a blueprint to help you figure out. It's like a map. Okay, well this is generally where I'm supposed to be going. This is what fits in which place.
Okay, so divine mission, divine purpose, divine plan.
Yeah.
And so human design helps people.
It helps you make sure that you're in alignment with what your purpose is, so you can focus in the right areas, in the right ways.
And I was shockingly surprised on how that worked for me. So, and it gave me a lot of cool little insights. And so, when did you start learning this?
I discovered human design about 7 years ago.
Oh, 7 years ago. And so you just found it super interesting ever since. And
Yeah,
you've just been studying along the way.
It was interesting. Yeah, I heard it just in passing from somebody, and for some reason, just like it immediately sounded interesting to me.
Called to you.
Yeah, I was like, ping. I was like, what is that? That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So I looked it up and I was like, huh, that sounds interesting. Let me just check it out. And so I did. And, because I was never really into astrology and that kind of stuff, it kind of seemed pretty vague and like, okay, well, that could practically fit most people. But so I checked it and I started reading some of the elements of my chart. And I was like, well, that's like eerily accurate.
Yeah, shockingly accurate.
And then I looked at my kids' charts, and at the time they were like 2 and 5. And theirs were like really apparent already too, like how their personalities and the way they do things is so different from each other. And
So
it was,
human design can be for kids too.
yeah. I mean, it's useful for anybody. You can use it to understand your kids better. It can tell you about your learning style, like the best environment for you to learn in.
Yeah.
Not everybody learns the same way.
No.
And some people are really good independent. Some people need to learn in a group. Some people just need to be around other people. Some people are more visual. Some people are more
I'm
auditory.
more audio. That's why you guys see me with earmuffs all the time.
So, like, it can give you a shortcut to understanding that before you have to trial and error and figure out, oh, that didn't work out and this works better. So,
Sweet.
yeah.
So we were doing an experiment.
Yeah, so
Describe
we're
the
doing an
experiment.
experiment. We were just sitting here, right here, actually, and we were just chatting about different things, and we're like, you know what would be interesting is to just have a conversation with somebody and record it and then process and figure out what are the words they most commonly use, and then look at their human design chart and see if the words they most commonly use line up with the elements of their chart. Because the things you talk about the most tend to be the things that are happening in your life and the things you're doing and accomplishing, and that could be considered on a lot of different levels. It could be, consciously or subconsciously, or even just, on a spiritual, energetic level. Like, what are you attracting into your life? What are you creating in your life? What are you creating in your relationships? Just what's happening for you, and how does that line up with the words you're saying?
Yeah. So when you speak, and if you're speaking about victim, health, money, all this stuff, or you're speaking like, I'm stoked out of my brains because my life is so freaking amazing, and all the creations and synchronicities, and I can see all the alignments and all these barricades are out of the way, and just launching forward with all these cool creations. That's 2 different languages. And if you look at your chart, you can see what languages you use when you're with your chart, and you can see what languages you don't use when you're not with your chart. And so that was the experiment. Now,
Yeah.
we put out the video, and then what happened?
We had quite a few people actually that said, you know what, that sounds really interesting. I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
And so I took the first 3 that responded. And so I set up Zoom calls for today. And yeah, I had 3 conversations. They were each different and also some overlap and similarities at the same time, which was interesting.
Yeah.
So I'll leave out names for now because I didn't get.
Yeah, leave out the names for now. But what'd you
Yeah.
learn? What'd you find interesting?
So what I found interesting, and I haven't done the actual assessment yet with the charts yet, so that is.
But just
is on the
roughly
way.
from what you
But
heard.
the overall
Yeah.
theme that I picked up today, something I thought was interesting was the first 2 calls that I had. Both of those women actually mentioned 2 similar things. And one of the concepts I thought was interesting is the concept of, as they've gotten older, as they've had more experience in their life, and through conflict in personal relationships and things, they've learned to understand that sometimes when you're talking to somebody, they'll say something to you and you understand it a certain way or make an assumption about what they mean, or you receive it a certain way. And you can sometimes choose to immediately get offended or react to what they're saying because you don't agree with it.
Right.
Or both of these women have said they found over the years what they now do instead is they pause and then they reflect it back and they say, hey, what I heard you say was this. Is that really what you meant? And then a lot of times they'll get a correction back and the person will say, no, actually, that is not all what I meant to say. So I'm sorry that it came out like that.
Right.
Or I'm sorry that it wasn't clear. But actually what I meant was this. So I just thought that was, that was cool. And that's something I've heard before. But it was interesting that it came up in both of these conversations today. And it just, I think a good reminder for a lot of us is we all come to things with our own preconceived ideas and our own take on what it is based on our life experience and whatever lens we're looking at things through. So it's important sometimes to not just assume that you know exactly what someone was trying to say, especially in this age of internet.
It's interesting that that's 2 women.
It's
who,
2 women.
And then, where's our men? What's going on with us dudes? What lesson can we learn from these women that's feeling this intuitive pull to get clarity? Because I know I do that.
So just, that's an important thing to stop and think about. Like, is that what they actually said or what they actually intended to say? And maybe just give an opportunity to clear it up. And maybe it is exactly what they meant to say. And so even regardless, maybe it's an opportunity to have a conversation. And even if you don't end up agreeing at the end of the conversation, that's okay too. We don't always have to all agree with everything that somebody else says, but at least coming from a point of trying to understand what the other person is trying to say and what their viewpoint is. And it's okay if we don't leave feeling the same way. But, I think, again, this world could use a dose of trying to understand a little more what the other person is saying and where they're coming from, and not automatically just so quick to
and it's interesting that it took a lifetime of many communications and many trials and challenges for them to finally get to this clarity at this stage in life. So maybe all of us can learn something about getting super clarity before we assume what someone is saying. That's a good lesson.
I think we can all benefit from that.
So it's interesting to think that, is that in the atmosphere? Is there anybody else out there that's getting that same pull? Like, I got so much life stuff going on. Why don't I get clarity first?
Right.
If anybody else has any of those, maybe it's just in the air right now.
Yeah. And it could also be something that maybe you've heard this or thought this before, but you're not putting it into regular practice. And so maybe this is an opportunity for it to be a reminder, maybe that's why it's coming up. Maybe we need to just have a refresher, a reminder.
Refresher 101. Is there anything else synchronistic that you found interesting?
Yeah, the same 2 women also both mentioned
what's up with these women?
they both mentioned sleeping, issues with sleeping. It was kind of for different reasons, but yeah, they both mentioned sleeping. I think sometimes people have health conditions that make them have to wake up more often, or it causes them to wake up more often. And then, you have a hard time getting back to sleep. Or a lot of people have, your brain is just processing so much all the time.
That's
especially, you got worries, you got stresses, you got a million long to-do lists, and all this stuff that's happening all the time. Like, there's just a lot.
There's a lot going on
So
outside.
sometimes it's just your body's tired and you're ready to sleep, but your brain's like, there's a circus going on up here. And so sometimes that's hard to straighten that out. And then one of my people actually had mentioned, overall she's very positive, very optimistic. She's happy. She's like a lot, like, just her life is going really well. She really has no complaints, and she's good all the time when she's awake. But it's when she goes to sleep that she has struggles. So that's something that is interesting, and is, some people say, it's like when you're sleeping, it's like your brain, your subconscious is processing things while you're asleep. So that could be an element. And then there's also this whole other aspect of human design, about when you're awake, you have these 9 main centers and all these gates that are active and engaging with things. But when you lay down and go to sleep, some of those centers aren't active because you're asleep. And so there's this whole other study of the rave chart, where when you're asleep, the dream rave, you're asleep and you have like a different kind of chart. And that's not something I've really studied too much yet, but now I'm kind of curious and see. So I might take a look around or ask a few friends that maybe have studied that in particular, and find out a little bit about that, because now I'm curious.
So that's also in the air. So we're just wondering, is there anybody else that's out there that's struggling to sleep? Whether it's health concerns or other things, or whether you're just the super most positive person in the world, most of the time, not all the time, but then you have trouble sleeping because your mind goes 4 million miles per hour. And that's, I can relate to that. So if anybody else can relate to that.
Right?
Any last words or announcements? What's your next little steps that you're going to do for these people?
So, and then the third color, I didn't really mention much about him. He's also super interesting, and he's done a lot of other work, like with different, like holistic healing and that kind of thing. And so he was curious how this fits with some of the stuff that I do. And I thought that's super interesting too. So we kind of explored that a little bit in the conversation. I think we're going to have more conversations about that, and see what else we can figure out, how these pieces might fit and work together. But yeah, so he was also super interesting to talk to, and a lot of interesting elements might come out of that in the future too.
Yay.
What I thought was cool about all three, but especially him, because I didn't run his chart before I talked to him. And then when I was talking to him, there were a couple points in the conversation where I had intuitive hits about what was on his chart based on things he was saying.
Right.
And so I went after and I pulled his chart and I just did a quick look, and lo and behold, some of them dead on. Like, just came right out. So yeah. Next up is I'm going to process the recordings that I have. I'm going to share the recordings with them, and then I'm going to do my analysis. I'm going to cross-reference it with their charts and see what little...
Give us quick analysis. What does an analysis look like? What are you doing for the layman's term out there?
Like a human design chart
explain
analysis.
what your analysis is. What was that process? What did you do on that Zoom call? Why did you gather this?
Oh, so not like a regular analysis, but...
Okay, so there's words.
Yeah. So one element of studying human design is another thing called the gene keys. So it's based on, and it's just another way to explore your human design chart. It's a different way of going at it. And so with the gene keys, you're looking at the 64 different gates that are on your chart, and there's a theme for each one. And so each gate represents a certain theme. And based on that, there can be like a maybe not so desirable expression, or
Negative
what we call
words.
like a shadow expression of that element, or there can be a higher expression, a more
Positive words.
and then there's like in an absolute perfect world,
Bliss.
if you're like the most Jesus-like person on the planet,
Krishna up
what
here.
is the absolute best
God
possible way
words.
to
Boom.
express this personal theme.
Yeah.
So each gate has a range of how this theme can show up.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so that's what I'm doing with the analysis next, is I'm going to take it, I'm going to figure out the words they use the most, and then I'm going to look at that against their chart, and I'm going to figure out, are they using the words that go with the theme for the particular areas of their life, and are they using the like more positive expression? Are they using more like in that zone of like the highest possible expression, or are they tending to be more on the shadow side, the more negative expression of it? I'm just curious and see
Yeah.
how it comes out.
And so?
So yeah, I will be doing the analysis, and then I'll be following up with them individually, and then I'll also be breaking it down and sharing some pieces on here just so I can share how the experiment is going.
Sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, actually, I think the last guy I talked to, his wife is also interested in doing this.
Yeah, right.
So I think I'm gonna do one for her, and then I'm probably gonna open up some more slots and have.
All right. Right
more
now,
of
there's a
these
couple other people that wanted to
conversations.
come in. We've been getting a couple little DMs, and you're on a small little waiting list right now. Okay, so it's not like we're just running an experiment, and we're almost through the first 3, and then we'll open up the waiting list and do like another 3
Yeah.
or so,
Yeah.
and then we should find some similarities, interesting similarities. And the ideal world is like interview you or talk to you for like how long was your average talk?
They're about a half an hour.
30 minutes, yeah.
about
So
a
for
half an
30 minutes, you're going to speak a language. Then we're going to use the data and find the top 3 words that you use, or top 4 words that you use. And then we're going to look at your chart and see what's the highest words that you should be using when it matches your chart, and then use it the top 4 words that you do use and see where you are on your chart. Are you off your chart using other words that's not
your focus.
That's not your focus. And then how do we tweak you into this is the right word you're supposed to be using that matches your alignment, and now boom, launch you into your purpose, your mission, and your plan, which should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Alrighty-o. Where can somebody find more information about you?
Oh, I have a website, AreaWolf.com.
Spell it out for the layman guy.
AureaWolf. Area Wolf.
AureaWolf.com. It's Area Wolf. Dum dum. Human design. Ow. We out. Peace.